I'm going to take a moment to talk about the piece of music that we're about to hear in the background of the next scene. It is a piece of music called Into the Depths of Self Discovery, which, if nothing else, is just an awesome song title. Like, I forgot that this particular piece of music was titled that, but I have never forgotten that title. I've used it for my Go Live notification a few times, not just for this game, but for Silent Hill 2 when I was playing the remake last year. And it is a textbook Akira Yamaoka Silent Hill backing track where you've got kind of groovy trip hop backbeat combined with creepy noises and sometimes some interesting melodic elements. I will link, whenever I put this up as a staying on theme video, I will link to that video that I referenced in one of the early Silent Hill 2 videos that shows the different samples that Akira Yamaoka used for a bunch of the different tracks, because that video specifically calls out one of the samples he uses in this piece, Into the Depths of Self-Discovery, although we won't hear that part of the track in this scene because it's more towards the end of the track on the official soundtrack. One of the things I find interesting about this piece of music and a bunch of the different ones on the Silent Hill 4 soundtrack, and also might be part of the reason that I have trouble like latching on to stuff in terms of like things that are memorable or thematic. My brain is all about pattern recognition. I think that's part of why I really dig themes and melodic material and harmonic material, recurring stuff, leitmotif. And there are few places in his piece of music where he's combining like beats and samples and keyboard stuff together, and there isn't as much of that melodic or harmonic material to latch onto, or he like it purposely obfuscates it at certain points, or maybe sometimes not on purpose. It's something that I've noticed about certain genres in the realm of this type of music, a lot of electronic music where it is less based on like traditional music theory and more on like vibes and atmosphere and that sort of thing, where people combine things together because they think they sound good together. Sometimes I get turned off because I'll hear something that I'm like, oh, that was clearly recorded in a different key than this other element they're using, and that's clashing, and that's kind of bothering me. But for some people that isn't, that doesn't bother them. Some people do that on purpose. Other people don't do that on purpose. But either way, it is absolutely a valid way to make music. It's just not necessarily the way that I prefer to make music. Akira Yamaoka is an interesting case because he does have that like music theory background. He's a trained pianist. He plays guitar, and I don't think he's completely disregarding that background when he's assembling these tracks. But for a track like Into the Depths of Self-Discovery, it does sound like he is going more based on vibes, and whether purposely or not, he is obfuscating what our harmonic center or our tonal center might be. I talked a lot in the Silent Hill 2 staying on theme videos about having a tonal center, and how the more that we get into the like creepier or more disturbing elements of a Silent Hill game, the more that Akira Yamaoka tries to obscure that tonal center. And this isn't a particularly like scary track, but it's definitely in that realm of like, oh, as the story and like all these like world jumping becomes more jarring and confusing for Henry, the music itself kind of reflects that. And that like as a song starts up, I was sitting down at the piano today trying to figure out, oh, is this what key is this song ultimately in? And it starts off with one sample that kind of gives you a couple of tones, and so I'm like, oh, maybe it's in this key, maybe it's in C minor or something similar to that. And then the bass beat comes in, and I'm like, is that an E or an E flat? Bass notes are typically more tough for me to hear. There's something about lower frequencies that I don't always latch on to, right? And then on top of that, he does introduce something that seems to establish more of a tonal center. Like there's more tonal clusters. Again, it almost sounded like C minor to me. And then there's a string part that feels like, okay, this feels like it's solidly in F minor. And it goes back and forth between like an F minor feel to an E flat minor feel. It's really interesting. Very briefly, I'll bring up my piano demos display so that I can show you what I'm talking about. So I'm doing this before the track because with the way that like the game is set up and stuff, I want to introduce these concepts so that you can hear them, and it's not like I can play along with the track, or this is more of a case of like, hey, I'm going to introduce some concepts to you, and then see if you can like pick them out as we're listening to it. But yeah, I think the first note that we hear comes in on like a G. It's this kind of breathy sounding tone that fades in, and then we get this bass beat that could be anywhere. It could be, it's just kind of adding a rhythmic percussive quality to the music. I'm just going to say it's C for the sake of not making people's ears hurt. Then we start to get this synth tone that comes in, and it's almost like doing this C minor tonal cluster kind of thing. At least that was the vibe I got when I was listening to it today. And then we have this other tone that comes in with like these, not orchestra hits, but these kind of like synth hits that, and then we get the string material where it's doing this, and then it goes into, can't remember the exact notes it's hitting, but it's something like playing around with these second scale degrees and minor chord feels, parallel minor chords that Akira Yamaoka likes to work in. And once again, we're in chords that he really loves for the Silent Hill games: C minor, F minor, even E flat minor. But yeah, obviously, if you're more interested in the story, please pay attention to the scene rather than the music. But if you're watching this later, watching the Staying on Theme video, and you're interested in picking out those different elements I was talking about, hopefully that gives you a good primer for hearing those things and getting a better sense of how Akira Yamaoka constructs his tracks. And again, I think there is some purpose to like introducing a tone that doesn't give you a clear tonal center, introducing something else that makes it sound like it could be a different tonal center, and then finally introducing something that feels more like, oh, this is a familiar a piece of harmonic material that I can actually latch onto. There's like a melody or a chord progression here. It's interesting. I think this soundtrack, even though I am not as passionate about it and haven't listened to it as much as like the Silent Hill 2 or Silent Hill 3 soundtrack, I think this is a good one for me in terms of like just something to learn from, because it's a little more outside my wheelhouse.
Ouch! Damn it.
Somewhere between G and G flat.
Where the hell am I?
Drum machine.
Real person. Hey, you're
Weird
the guy
noises.
that lives across from me.
Yeah.
There's that bass
My
beat.
name's Henry.
I'm Richard Braintree, from 207. What the hell's happened to us? That hole in this freaky world.
There's the synth tonal cluster coming in.
If you're here too, then there must be something wrong with the whole apartment building.
You think?
That must explain what happened to that other guy too.
What other guy?
Is that synth
Guy
hit?
who lived in 302 before you. A journalist. He disappeared one day. He got pretty crazy towards the end. Shut himself up in his room.
You don't know what
and
was
got
going
out.
on, Richard. There's the synth. The synth
Anyway.
strings.
I'm getting the hell out of here. You should too, if you know what's good for you.
Wait. Watch out for that kid.
And monkeys.